Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations to those and happy campaigning to the rest of you. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Williams and Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis peoples on this land and show respect to them today. We acknowledge our neighbors, the Wata Mohawks, and the First Nations of Moose Deer, Shawniga, Wasasking,
Join the meeting.
Magnetawan, Henby Inlet, Nipissing, and the Dokis. I'd like to call your attention to two items that were added via the addendum this afternoon to the agenda that you received. The first is item 5B, which is a memo from staff regarding the floodplains on some property. And then correspondence related to 5D, letters of support for the consent application. Also, item 5F, the decision has been deferred on that, awaiting further information from staff. So with those addendum changes, could I have approval of the agenda? All in favor? Thank you. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Councillor Fellner, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so I just clarification because 5F is
5F is Bill Park.
which, because that was Park, so 5E, okay, so it's E in one and F in the other, so I've done this wrong, but however, I wish to declare that I may have a conflict of interest related.
Join the meeting.
Matter, consent application B 2022-0016-E
F.
for all. Thank you.
It actually should say, is it F? It's,
Yeah, I was
Okay.
confused. I
Okay.
said F. but
okay,
on
it's
the-
F there, but it's little e here. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, you're correct.
Yeah,
Thank you. So
Thank
when
you.
we get to those discussions, you don't need to sign out, but you cannot participate in the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Then I move on to have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of council held August 2nd, 2022 as circulated. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat
I so move that motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Coles?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of approving the minutes? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matters: zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0013-H and consent application number B 2022-0011-H for Buczynski, zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0017-H for Georgian and Gorecki, consent application number B 2022-0014-H for Ernst, and consent application number B 2022-0017-H and B 2022-0018-H for Brace, and consent application number B 2022-0016-F for Hall, and consent application number B 2022-0015-F for Park. Could I have a motion from Councillor Osborne?
So move.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Collins.
Second your motion, Mayor.
All in favor? Thank you. Council will now hold public meetings for proposed consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent or passing a zoning bylaw. If a person or public body who files an appeal of a decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin in respect of a proposed consent does not make written submissions to the council before it provides or refuses to provide a provisional consent, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. Anyone wishing to receive notice of the passing of a zoning bylaw amendment, not owning land within 120 meters of the area to which it applies, and who has not submitted such a request in writing, should provide their full name and address to the clerk. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of consent application number B 2022-0011-H for Buczynski is to create one new lot. The purpose of the associated zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0013-H for Buczynski is to rezone the subject lands from rural RU zone to rural residential RR zone. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of that meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on August 2nd, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No correspondence has been received.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications?
Aaron Arignello of Tulloch Engineering, agent for the applicant, has registered to speak to these applications and I believe is present.
Mr. Arignello, are you on Zoom? Could you turn your screen on for video?
Yes,
Thank
good
you.
afternoon.
Would you like to speak to this application?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron Ariganello. I'm the land use planner at Tulloch Engineering and the agent on these applications. So just to dive right into it, the purpose of the consent application is for the creation of a new lot as shown on the proposed sketch for residential purposes. The severed parcel would have an area of approximately 1.6 hectares with approximately 109 meters of frontage on Clear Lake Road. And the retained parcel would have an area of approximately 1.4 hectares with approximately 102 meters frontage on Clear Lake Road as well. The purpose of the associated zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the subject property from rural to rural residential in order to meet the required area and frontage for the creation of a new rural residential lot. With the property currently zoned rural, the creation of a new lot is not possible as the zoning bylaw requires lots with a minimum area of 4 hectares and a minimum frontage of 120 meters. Granted the proposed rezoning of the property, the creation of a new lot would be possible as the zoning bylaw requires rural residential lots to have a minimum area of 1.2 hectares and a minimum frontage of 90 meters. The proposed applications are consistent with the provincial policy statement as section 1.1.4 states that in rural areas, permitted uses shall relate to limited residential development. Moving on to the Township of Seguin official plan. The proposed applications conform to the official plan as the subject property is designated rural and resource area, and the permitted uses of such designation include low-density residential uses. Further, the proposed lots will satisfy the rural and resource area designation law requirements of a minimum area of 1.2 hectares and a minimum frontage of 90 meters outlined in section B.12 of the official plan. that pretty much sums up all my comments. I would like to now thank staff for writing a report on these applications, which recommended approval. Thank you for your consideration, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. And Lauren, do you have anything to add to this file?
Nothing further to add, Your Worship, but I'm here for any questions council may have.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions of either of our planning experts? I see no questions, so thank you very much, Mr. Arignello, for attending. And we will move into the actual consent applications after the public meeting closes.
Thank you very much.
The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0017-H for Georgian and Gorecki is to amend the boundary of the existing environmental protection zone on the subject lands as per the recommendation of a scoped environmental impact study prepared by Riverstone Environmental Solutions. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on August 2nd, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
Correspondence has been received from Catherine, George, and Angela Mills.
And that correspondence appeared in your addendum. Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
The applicants have registered to speak this application and are present, I believe.
Okay, and I believe Brady, you're there as well. Do you have anything to add? Because there was a memo from staff in the addendum.
Yes, Your Worship. Since the publishing of the report, staff did receive public comments in relation to past flooding on the subject land. So staff have amended the bylaw to require site plan control as well as an engineered design study to address the flooding concerns on the subject lands.
Yep.
Thank you. And Mr. Georgian and Gorek and Mr. I'm not sure which one's used Mr. and which one's Miss, but do you have anything to add?
I missed the first part, so.
They were just going over the amendment. Is there anything that you want to add to the comment on the letter from Georgian?
Yes, so recently we took some actions to mitigate the flooding on the land ourselves, and it's been effective for 3 years in a row now. So the concerns of the neighbors, which they have seen over the last 3 years, they haven't raised any concerns in the last 3 years since that last weather event. I'm not sure why they're raising it now, but they've seen the progress of the property, and the flooding has been sort of managed at this point. We're happy to follow any guidelines that the city requires, take more steps to satisfy everyone. There's not a problem with that, but we have taken some steps a few years ago which have worked, which were recommended by a landscape company. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. I think you see that staff is asking for an engineered study on the construction, and that will be a requirement as we move into the consent part of this agenda. But thank you very much for appearing. And the actual passage of the consent happens immediately following the public meeting. So you can continue to watch, but does council have any questions of either our planning department or the owners? Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Gorgon, is it?
Georgian and Gorecki.
Georgian. Okay.
Georgian, yeah. Or Georgian Bay.
I'm a neighbor on Turtle Lake. I'm also your counselor, and I've been around by boat to since this request came out to have a look at your property by boat. I share the Mills concern about the previous flooding, and I would like you, if you wouldn't mind, elaborate on what steps you took to mitigate the flooding. Was it a matter of trenching that water flow, or?
Yeah, so So basically behind the property, that's where the water can come in from the road. And I guess the previous owner didn't really maintain the property at all. So we had a landscape engineer come in and say, you know, all you guys really need to do to protect the property here is just elevate the grade and put a little bit of a berm along the tree line. And that's what we did. And it solved the problem every single, the last 3 springs in a row. Even with last year's high water levels, it didn't breach the property and it was good. So it was a simple procedure and it worked. So.
And just to be clear, that was only done on the portion of the property that was already cleared when we purchased it, and the portion of the property where the dwelling sits right now. So it was simply just to limit the water flow directly towards our dwelling.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thanks for that explanation. And I'm, I have no objections to your building plans. I'm glad to hear from planning that there will be a site plan control on this one, because it is very critical, as you know, with your neighbors all drawing water from that very sensitive and shallow bay.
Sure.
So good luck with your reno in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, we will move on to consent application number B, 2022-0014-H for Ernst to permit a boundary adjustment. The lands located at 23 10th concession would convey a parcel having an area of 1.5 hectares to the abutting lands at 371 Clear Lake Road. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on August 8th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
Lisa Ernst and Jacob and Ashley Ernst have registered to speak up to this application, and they are present.
I see Lisa. Okay. Lisa, do you have something to say about this?
I think it's great. They want to build a house, so they needed that extra room, and I have no problem giving them more acreage.
Okay, that's great. Do you have anything to add, Lauren?
Nothing further to add, just going off what Lisa just said. The proposed boundary adjustment would allow for a suitable building envelope on the benefiting lands in the existing rural zoned area. But I'd be happy to answer any other questions that council may have.
Does council have any questions?
Nope.
Nope, I see none. So we will move on. And Lisa, the actual act of the consent application happens immediately following this public meeting, like in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for being here. The next one, the purpose of consent application numbers B 2022-0017-H and B 2022-2018-H for Brace is to permit 2 lot additions. The granting lands mutually owned by Brace and Lakelands 2 Limited would be severed, and the subsequent parcels would be added to the neighboring properties, resulting in 1 less parcel. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on August 8th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
Correspondence was received from Gail Spicer, Craig and Kathy Baxter, Jack Cashman and Francis Carmichael, Peter Scully and Allison McLeod, Diana Paquette and Ron Collins, Harris Schaefer LLP, Mark Kemmerer of DeVry Smith Frank LLP.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications?
Vanessa Archer of TD Consulting Inc. and Mark Kemmerer of DeVry Smith Frank LLP, agents for the applicants, have registered to speak to these applications.
And we have both Ms. Archer and Mr. Kemmerer. online, I think. Which one of you would like to speak to this first?
Your Honor, Your Worship, it's so I can speak first,
Go ahead.
if you can hear me. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your time today. I'm here not on behalf of the applicants, but on behalf of their neighbors, just to ensure you'll have my correspondence of this morning, I think actually, requesting that a condition of the severance or the applicants enter into and provide my clients with an easement over what we call the encroachment part. Staff agree with that recommendation, and I think it forwarded as a recommendation for council today and in support of the application. And I'm here just to state that we support. We're thankful for staff for recommending that as a condition, and we support it very strongly to ensure that the access over those the subject lots doesn't take away from the access enjoyed by my clients.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Archer, do you have anything to add?
Hi, yes, thank you through your chair. I am here as a representative of the homeowners, and we do not have any issues with the condition that was asked to be included from DeVry Smith Frank's office from Mark. We have discussed that with staff and we are okay with that. Our client is okay with that condition. We do note that that Mark's client has agreed to pay for the survey and the financial aspects of that additional condition. And our client has no issues with that to clear up any miscommunication on the right-of-way location. So we are good with that, and we're happy to see this go through today.
Thank you very much. And Lauren, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Your Worship. As they both mentioned, staff have added an additional condition to the consent conditions that were originally in the report, just stating that an easement is to be granted to the two parties as listed in the letter received from Mr. Kemmerer. I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. And are there any questions from council? Thank you very much. Reducing the number of lots is generally considered a good thing. So thank you for making this happen. And the actual consent will go through as we close the public meeting in a few moments. The purpose of consent application number B 2022-0016-F for Hall is to permit a lot addition. The granting lands at 221 James Bay Junction Road would convey a parcel having an area of 6.08 hectares to the abutting benefiting lands. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on August 8th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
And has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
No one has registered to speak to this application.
Does council have any questions? And Brady, do you have anything to add?
Nothing further to add as per your summary. I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions from councillors? No. Thank you very much, Brady. And we move on to the last one. The purpose of consent application number B 2022-0015-8F for Park is to create one new residential rural lot. I now ask this clerk to state the method by which notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on August 8th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
Bill Park, the applicant, is registered to speak this application. I believe he's present. I just admitted him, so.
Mr. Park, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but I don't need to speak. I was being prepared to speak in case somebody was opposing it.
Okay, does council have any questions for Mr. Park? And then I'll ask our Director of Planning, Taylor, to speak to this. Okay, Taylor, it's all yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to add to the application, but it's being deferred to allow for an up-to-date sketch to be submitted and the report and conditions to be updated as well. So we're not recommending a decision be made tonight, but at the next council meeting. We spoke with the applicant and they're okay with that.
Thank you very much. So there will be further documentation in the next council package. So we now move on to the actual consents. You have to read them all again?
The closing of it, just.
Okay. I have motion that the public meeting held for the following matters is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Moffat.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All in favor of closing the public meeting? Thank you.
These are both for the first one.
Okay, there's two parts to the first one. First motion is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application number B 2022-0011-H for Buczynski, subject to conditions set out in the decision. Could I have a motion from Councillor Coles?
I will so move.
And seconded by Councillor Osborne.
Second that.
All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-092, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-007-01540, application number R 2022-0013-H for Buczynski is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner?
So moved, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Collins.
I second the motion, Mayor.
All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-090, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-004-17600, R 2022-0017-H for Georgian and Gorecki is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Moffat.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to the consent application number B 2022-0014-H for Ernst, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. Could I have a motion from Councillor Coles?
Will so move.
And seconded by Councillor Osborne.
Second that, Mayor.
All in favor? Thank you. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application numbers B 2022-0017-H and B 2022-0018-H for Brace, subject to the conditions set out in the decisions. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner
So moved.
and seconded by Councillor Collins?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application number B 2022-0016-F for Hall, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson
I so move.
and seconded by Councillor Moffat?
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All in favor? Thank you. And we are deferring the consent application for further information from staff to the next meeting. So the F doesn't proceed. So we have staff reports. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for August 22nd, 2022 meeting of council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Coles
I will so move.
and seconded by Councillor Osborne?
Second that.
All in favor of receiving staff reports? Thank you. And I believe we go to Michelle for our financial update.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. As you can see, we are slowly eating away at our deficit, drawing it down little by little. The tax arrears are up slightly, not enough to be significantly concerned, but we'll keep an eye on them. And the capital is starting, but we are starting to see that a number of our projects are going to have to be put off until next year. They're not going to happen this year, and there are a number of them that may need some extra funds, which will be brought to council and will be considered again during the budget process. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do councillors have any questions for our treasurer? Councillor Osborne.
Just a quick one. Thank you, Mayor. Michelle, is there a number of projects that are delayed, or could you just quickly run through them?
Well, as I said in the report, the grader, you'll see a report from Tom
Yes.
tonight. There's also possibly the highway tractor, the Mac, that replacement. The Stanley House and Star Lake Road projects. Tom has advised that they will probably go to tender this year, but they will not be beginning construction. So.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions for Michelle? Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. It's nice to see that number coming down. I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-093, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Paul Wilson related to an agreement under section 51, bracket 26 of the Planning Act, RSO, as amended, file number B 2021-0025-26-27-28-F is hereby been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner?
I'll move that, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Collins?
I'll second that motion.
And I'm going to call on Taylor, I believe, to talk about this one. Over to you, Director.
Thank you, Worship. This is to fulfill a condition of consent to require a subdivision agreement or a 5126 agreement to incorporate the recommendations of a noise study due to the adjacent rail line. It does so any prospective buyer will be aware of these requirements and warning clauses which are registered on title.
Does anybody have any questions for Taylor? I see none. All in favor? Counselor Fellner, are you voting? Oh, have we lost his connection maybe? All in favor again, please. Thank you. Okay, that's carried. And I have a motion that as per staff report number PW-RD-2022-015, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the awarding of tender number 2022-018 for the purchase of a new 2023 CAT 160 motor grader to Toromont in an amount not to exceed $576,660 plus applicable taxes. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Moffat.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
And I think we have Director McLeod online. Yep. Okay. Tom, do you want to explain any of this?
I think everything is well detailed in the report here, but I'm here to answer any of your questions you may have.
Does council have any questions for Director McLeod? Nope. Okay, all in favor of proceeding with the purchase of a CAT motor grader? Thank you. Michelle's the one, or Tom? Okay, Tom, do you want to speak to the report about the CP agreement? I believe we don't have any choice on this. But you can tell us a little bit about it.
So similar to, thank you, Worship and members of council, this is similar to a report that was dated back, I think it was June. It was a trigger, I guess CP's doing a review in this area, and they have also identified this as a much needed upgraded crossing, and the rest is kind of in the report to speak to that. So not much we can do, unfortunately.
Thank you. And you'll see in the report that we are hoping that the allocation will drop to 50% after strong negotiation. Does anybody have any questions for Tom or Michelle? Nope. So you have council approval to proceed with your recommendation. We have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby accept the resignation of Sue Coxhead from the Township of Seguin Orville Recreation Committee and thank Mrs. Coxhead for her service on the committee. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner?
So moved.
And seconded by Councillor Osborne.
Second that.
All in favor? Thank you. So the clerk's department will thank Ms. Coxhead. And the next item you will see on page 182 of your agenda package is an invitation to attend this Wednesday, a heritage plaque in Gravenhurst to honor Coburn, who helped open up many of the Muskoka lakes. I cannot attend, and I'm hoping that someone who has interest in the historical importance of Coburn could attend. It is in Councillor Osborne's riding, but I'm wondering if there's anyone else that would like to attend. We've been asked, and the letter and the history part is very explicit. Councillor Osborne?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be unable to attend. I'll be in North Bay that day, but if someone else could, I think that would be good.
Councillor Finson, I see your hand.
I'll go.
Okay, great. I suggest you read all the stuff that's in your agenda package to fully understand who Mr. Coburn is, but will you advise them?
I have read it. I went over it.
Gail, do you want to do the reply or do you want to have the clerk's office do the reply? You can, Mr. Tatley and I have spoken and his direct phone number is on the letter.
Okay, I can do it.
Richard.
Okay. Great. Thank you very
You're
much.
Richard Tatley. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great. Thank you, Gail.
you're welcome.
And I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-088, being a bylaw to write off taxes on properties in the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins
I so move your motion there.
and seconded by Councillor Finson?
I second that.
Are there any questions for Michelle on this? I think it's pretty standard. No, all in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2022, being a bylaw to stop up temporarily part of the highways municipally known as Rice Street and Oak Street in the former village of Rosso, now the Township of Seguin, District of Perry Sound, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat
I so move that motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Coles?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. And I believe this is for the Russell Fall Fair that I intend you to all attend. Yeah. Yeah, I wrote, yes. So all in favor of this, first of all, closing. And you have a detailed invitation in your package to attend the Rosso Fall Fair, and they are asking for RSVPs, which can go through the clerk's office.
They actually provide a phone number and an email.
Okay, where am I? Okay, what page are we on?
It's a specific letter of the attendance, and the reason that they usually ask you to call directly is I think
They offer transportation.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
Page 189.
Right. Okay, so I will be attending and I would prefer to walk.
I will be attending and I will walk.
So I will call Kelly. Will you do the same, or do you want me to include you, Gail, in my reply?
Oh, you might as well just include me. I'll be talking to Kelly, but yeah, you can just include me when you call.
Okay. And I think we meet at the farm
Yeah.
where all
Farm.
the things are on the barn. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's great. Anybody else choose to attend?
Not
Okay.
attend, I won't be in town.
Okay, so council
it?
reports. Let's start with you, Gail.
Okay. I've had a bit of a busy few weeks. I attended the beach party and cruise with the Lieutenant Governor. It was a lovely, lovely day. The Lake Russell North Association social on the same day. I attended the Little Lake Joe Association AGM. Very interesting. I really enjoy that Lake Association meeting. And I had an emergency meeting with the DSAB on August the 9th. There was a dedication to Ray Weldon. I attended that on August the 12th. And I was at AMO in Ottawa from the 14th to the 17th. I'll put a formal report in, but it was very interesting. And one of the I got all excited again about the administrative penalty. You know, they're thinking of going digital and having I know people won't like this, but it's like photo radar in the community zones and schooling zones, and you don't have to be a POA township to do it. So it was very exciting, and I will bring more detail to staff and to the mayor at some point. I will do a formal report. Anyway, and I've had a few phone calls. I did have one specific about Morgan's Bay, and the person was just calling to say that people that were making the noise weren't renters. They were his children. But anyway, I don't know the person. I was just called and told that they weren't renters, and everybody was on the short-term rental with them, but they were family. They're the owners. They're the children of the owner of the house. And that's the one on Morgan's Bay, I believe, that everybody's had a problem with. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. It was on Little Morgan Bay.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, road. So Councillor Collins?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I attended the Starlake Road AGM by Zoom on the 18th in the evening. I also have been taking many questions from residents relating to the Cogeco connectivity and many other concerns with constituents. It's just an ongoing thing right now because of the times. It is everybody's up and everybody wants to know what's going on in Seguin Township. Simple as that. Thank you.
When you have direct questions about Cogeco, you should refer them to Forrest, who is in pretty good connection with them. And we got some very specific details back from Cogeco today. So Forrest has all those.
Oh, good. That's very good to know. And I just can't wait to pass on to the residents on Starlake Road that nothing's happening this year. Thank you.
Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the festivities at the waterfront as well the AGM for the Little Lake Joe. I've had a few complaints I've dealt with bylaw, particularly either camping or overnight parking on the Lake Joseph Beach, and someone building an illegal structure out on one of the islands, apparently on Crown land. Anyhow, the bylaw is looking into all that, so we'll, and other than that, I've been pretty, had good progress with Park to Park this month. We pretty much got the trail reconstructed now from the 400 highway to Orville. I think this weekend there's more fill scheduled to be put on the base, and I had a call from McDougall Township saying that they're able to move the material they're donating to Park anytime over the next few weeks. So we're just trying to arrange some support for that. So it's gone very, very well, especially the last 3 or 4 weeks. And that's about all I have to report.
Thank you. Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Mayor. Hot on the campaign trail. I've got a Three Lakes AGM coming up in, pardon me, on Labor Day weekend. That will be in person. And I had a request from a constituent for an answer to the cutting of the shoulders. This particular resident saw a number of monarch larvae on the milkweed, and it's been slashed. And I thought we had discussed this some number of years ago about holding off until after that season before we cut the shoulders of the road. So I don't know if Tom's got a schedule on that or what, but I assured this resident that I would get back to them and try to delay the cutting of shoulders until into the fall. Tom, if you can comment, that's fine. If not, that's okay as well. That's all I have.
Tom, do you have an answer right away?
If you want to forward off the concern, I can certainly look into it and see what the problem is offline. That's no problem at all.
I did note that some of our crews were protecting the milkweed. We have to be careful because I guarantee you it's not being protected by MTO. Their machine just comes along and goes whoop. So you got to know exactly where the complaint is from. So if you can forward it to Director McLeod, he'll look into it.
It's more than one road that's happening on. A number of roads are getting cut right now. Thank you.
Can I have Councillor Coles?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And if I could just add to the discussion we just had, I can tell you that in my area, all of the milkweeds are protected. Whoever does the cutting bypasses the milkweed clusters and goes on to the next long grass areas. And so there's lots of milkweed stands in our area. So the practice seems to be holding up in most places. That's my observation anyway. August the 5th, I was signing checks at Belvedere, and this is actually the first time I've had to sign checks. I'm one of the check signers because I am the deputy chair of Belvedere, but I was impressed with the size of the checks. Some very large checks going out. One of them was to OMERS, the pension plan. So you can imagine what the size of that one would have been. Anyway, August the 6th at 10 a.m., the Osler Park or Osler AGM was held at the Foley Community Center. Interesting group of people. It's always a pleasure meeting with them. My running colleague Bazinski was there as well. Always a good meeting. And then 5 p.m. the same day, the OLRA barbecue was held. There was no meeting of those of us who are running. It was held at Tapatu. Really good meeting, and I just would say I felt really welcomed by many of the residents at the barbecue, which was kind of refreshing and not exactly what I expected. For those of you who know, we will understand what I'm talking about. On August the 21st, this past Sunday, the mayor and I and Maria Bazinski were at the Three-Legged Lake AGM. And what I found most interesting about that was that most of the people present were from the archipelago. There may have been 3 or 4 Seguin residents, and everybody else was from the archipelago, which was interesting. But I always look at these things like people know people, so you give them your best shot anyway. It was a good meeting, and we had a lot of good discussion at the end of the meeting about some future prospects for the road to the archipelago. So exciting stuff. Anyway, that's pretty much my report. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. August 3rd, we had a Foley Fall Fair planning meeting, and just want to remind everyone that the Foley Fall Fair is September 3rd and 4th. There's a bit of a half day or an extension into Sunday through Whispering Rivers Orchestra is doing some activities on the Sunday. So there's a little bit more fair activity as compared to recent prior years. So on August 4th, I did an interview with the Georgian Bay Biosphere with regards to composting, and that's been posted online through their social media sites. Speaking about our program, both the composting as well as the food cycler. Had an opportunity to speak with Debbie Allen in advance of that to gather some information, and Tom as well, McLeod, gather some information. So I had recent stats. So it sounds like in terms of our food cycler program, it is certainly well received. I looked online the other day and I see that it's closed, but it would be good if we can continue facilitating those with residents of Seguin. On August 6th, Horseshoe Lake Association had its annual general meeting, of which the mayor was in attendance. I came in behind, and it was well attended, a lot of discussion with respect to that. Also on the 6th, soon after, the Horseshoe Lake Association was at the Rosso Beach for the Seguin Summerfest. It was a very warm day. It was a great event, lots of people there, and didn't have a whole lot of time because I had to be somewhere else, which was the Otter Lake Ratepayers Association barbecue. with Councillor Cole competing for trivia, which we were a little bit better, but we didn't get the winning prize. So it was a good event. Just this past weekend, attended the Virtue Cottage Association, and that is at the end of Marshall Road, small little lake up there. Again, very well attended. The last couple of years, they've done it at the pavilion at Humphrey at the community center. So good opportunity to see residents. Lots of emails coming in on short-term rental, both on the survey. Residents are looking for the paper survey. I understand they have not been sent out yet, or they hadn't been as of last week. So I'm hopeful that we are going to get them into the mail so they can get completed and tabulated as part of this, and we're not going to cut anyone off with respect to any sort of deadlines. I believe that we had end of summer was what we've talked about. So I know some residents are reluctant to do it online, and they're looking for the paper survey. But many emails on that bylaw, as well as meetings on a potential housing development with staff. So over the last couple of weeks, that is it on my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have a lot of new to add because in most of the cases, most of you were with me. But August 6th, as we've talked, was the Horseshoe Lake AGM, then off to the Governor General's splash party, which was very well attended. And I think she said she felt like she was playing hooky because it was so relaxed compared to many of the other things she has to attend. And then off to the Lake Rosso Association Social and Fundraiser. They are again raising funds to keep the Rosso Nursing Station open weekends for the next 3 years. And I guess the numbers are proving that they get used on Saturdays, Sundays, and the long weekends. August 7th was the Little Lake Joe AGM, which for the first time in many years was held at the Rosso Memorial Hall. So attendance was down a little because it wasn't right on the lake, but I think it was a good meeting overall. August 9th, I participated as a member of the Hospital Foundation Board in an event called a Castaway event, where we've raised already over $480,000 in one day, the biggest fundraiser ever for the hospital. Then on Friday, August 12th, the Weldon Garden at the Rosso Nursing Station was, I guess the word is inaugurated, in honor of both Kathleen Kay and Ray Weldon. The funds for it came from the family to honor their parents. And there's only one part of it missing, and that's 100 daffodil bulbs that have to be planted in the autumn. But it was a very nice event, and I think a fitting tribute to Kay and Ray, who were instrumental in raising the original funds for the Rosso Nursing Station. So that's what their family chose as a tribute to them. Then we were in Ottawa, Jason and I and Gail at AMO. Lots of networking. The days were long, but the sessions were informative. The best part of these meetings is meeting our colleagues from other communities. Then on the 18th, we had the Star Lake AGM via Zoom. And then on the 21st, the Three-Legged Lake AGM. So Lake Association meetings are continuing. I spend most of my time at those meetings telling them what this council has achieved in the last 4 years, and specifically in the last year. And that's what they're interested in, and reminding them to vote. Even if there are some acclamations, we need them to vote. And if they want more information, it's easily available. And I think that's it. Do you have anything to add? So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda, and the addendum for the August 22nd, 2022 meeting of council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Osborne?
So moved.
And seconded by Councillor Fellner.
Second that, Mayor.
All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-095 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first and second and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins
So moved.
and seconded by Councillor Finson?
I second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you. And we have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council at 5:28 PM to meet again on Tuesday, September 6th at 2022, or at the call of the mayor. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat
I so move that motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Coles?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Congratulations, Mayor. Under an hour.
Thank you. The congratulations go to the staff who prep for these meetings and bring us only what is necessary. So the wheels are starting to move very well. They're well oiled